Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be exploring something that I think is super fascinating and honestly kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
The power of the subconscious mind.
Definitely mysterious. How much is really going on under the surface that we're not even aware of, right?
Right, and how much control do we actually have over it?
Exactly.
So to guide us through this exploration, we're going to be looking at a classic book by Dr. Joseph Murphy called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
Oh, yeah. Great one.
Have you read this one before?
I have, yeah. It's actually one of the first books I read on this topic, and it's kind of what got me hooked on this whole idea of the subconscious.
Wow. So it's like a gateway.
It really was for me. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people.
I can see why, because Dr. Murphy, he doesn't just throw out a bunch of theories. He actually gives you practical tools and techniques to work with your subconscious.
It's almost like a user manual for your mind.
Right. It's like, okay, here's how this thing works. And here's how you can actually start using it to your advantage.
Yeah, I love that about it.
Me too. So where do we even begin with this? There's so much to unpack in this book.
Well, I think one of the most fundamental concepts that Dr. Murphy lays out right from the beginning is the idea of the duality of mind.
The duality of mind. Okay, so what's that all about?
Basically, he's talking about the conscious and subconscious minds working together as two spheres of activity within one mind.
Okay, two sides of the same coin, kind of.
Exactly. So the conscious mind is the part of us that we're most familiar with, right? It's responsible for our thinking, our reasoning, our decision-making.
Yeah, the stuff we're aware of doing.
Right. But then there's this whole other realm of mental activity going on beneath the surface, and that's the subconscious.
The mysterious subconscious.
Exactly. And this part of the mind is responsible for things like our automatic bodily functions.
Like breathing and our heartbeat and all that stuff.
Exactly. Stuff we don't have to consciously think about.
Thank goodness.
Right. But here's the key. The subconscious mind is also incredibly receptive to suggestions.
Suggestions? Okay, so what kind of suggestions are we talking about here?
Well, they can come from external sources. Like other people, what they say to us, the things we see and hear in the media.
So all those subliminal messages.
Yeah, but they can also come from within ourselves.
So the things we tell ourselves.
Exactly. Dr. Murphy calls this autosuggestion, and it's one of the most powerful tools we have for shaping our reality.
So if we're constantly telling ourselves negative things like, I'm not good enough or I'll never succeed, our subconscious mind might actually start believing it.
It's a real possibility, and that's the kind of scary part.
That is kind of scary.
Yeah, because the subconscious doesn't really judge the validity of the suggestions it receives. It just accepts them as truth.
Oh, wow. So it's indiscriminately taking in whatever we feed it.
Pretty much, and then it starts to act accordingly, manifesting those beliefs in our lives.
So that means if we're feeding it negative suggestions, it could actually be sabotaging us without us even realizing it.
Yeah, it can create self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yikes. Okay, so then the flip side of that must be true too, right?
Exactly.
If we feed our subconscious mind positive suggestions, it could actually help us achieve our goals and live happier lives.
That's the empowering part.
That is empowering. Okay, so how do we actually go about doing that? How do we reprogram our subconscious mind to work for us instead of against us?
Well, that's where Dr. Murphy's practical techniques come in. He offers a lot of different tools, but I think one of the most important ones is the conscious use of affirmations.
Affirmations. Okay, I've heard of those before, but remind me how they work again.
Basically, it's about repeatedly stating positive statements that align with your goals and desires.
So instead of saying, I'm so stressed, you would say something like, I am calm and relaxed.
Exactly. The idea is to replace those negative thought patterns with more empowering ones.
But it can't just be a one-time thing, right?
No, it's about consistency.
Like a regular practice.
Yeah, you have to impress those positive suggestions upon your subconscious mind over and over again until they become ingrained.
So it's like we're retraining our brains to think differently.
Exactly. And the more we do it, the more those new beliefs start to take root and influence our actions and our experiences.
I'm starting to see how powerful this could be.
It really is, and Dr. Murphy uses a lot of really compelling stories in the book to illustrate just how effective this approach can be.
Oh, what kind of stories?
Well, one that really stands out to me is the story of the famous opera singer Caruso. He was actually terrified of performing in front of audiences.
Really? Caruso? Mm-hmm. But he had such an incredible voice.
I know, right? But he had this debilitating stage fright. He imagined his throat constricting, his voice failing him on stage.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah. But he developed this unique strategy to overcome it. He would mentally address his fear as the little me.
The little me. Okay.
That wanted to sabotage the big me. The part of him that knew he was talented and capable.
So it's like he was having this internal dialogue between his fear and his confidence.
Exactly. And by consciously choosing to focus on the big me, the empowering belief, he was able to overcome his fear and perform brilliantly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So he basically used autosuggestion to reprogram his subconscious mind to support his success.
Exactly.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
And you know what it reminds me of? That saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Absolutely. It all comes down to the beliefs we hold in our minds.
So if we want to change our lives, we have to start by changing our thoughts.
That's a great takeaway from Dr. Murphy's work, and it's something that we can all start applying right now.
I love that. And it seems like this idea of autosuggestion can be applied to all areas of life, not just overcoming fear, but also things like attracting love and abundance.
Exactly. Dr. Murphy goes into all of that in detail.
Well, I'm definitely hooked. We've barely scratched the surface of Dr. Murphy's work, and I'm already feeling like there's this whole new world of potential opening up.
There is, and as we continue our deep dive, you'll see just how profound the connection is between our subconscious mind and the reality we experience. You know, one of the things that really blew my mind when I first read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind was the chapter on healing.
Oh yeah, the idea that our thoughts can actually influence our physical well-being.
Right, it's like, can we really heal ourselves just by believing it's possible?
It almost sounds too good to be true.
It does, but Dr. Murphy presents some pretty compelling evidence.
Like what?
Well, he starts by sharing his own personal experience. He actually healed himself of a sarcoma, which is a type of malignant tumor.
Wow, using the power of his subconscious mind.
Exactly. He believes that the same intelligence that created the body also had the inherent power to heal it.
That's a powerful belief.
It is, and he didn't just sit around and hope for the best. He actively worked with his subconscious mind using affirmations and visualization techniques.
So he was very intentional about it.
Oh yeah, and he emphasizes that it's not about denying the reality of the illness or pretending it doesn't exist.
It's more about aligning your thoughts with the desired outcome.
Exactly, health and well-being. He believed in this creative intelligence within the subconscious that's constantly striving to maintain life and restore harmony.
So it's like tapping into that inner healing power.
Exactly, and he backs this up with numerous examples from his practice.
Oh yeah, he talks about people healing from all sorts of conditions.
Yeah, from cancer to paralysis to skin diseases to you name it. He describes cases where people experienced remarkable recoveries by using affirmations and cultivating a deep belief in their subconscious healing power.
That's pretty amazing. But I have to admit, I'm also a little skeptical. Like, if it's truly that simple, why doesn't everyone experience spontaneous recovery?
Right, that's a fair question. And Dr. Murphy acknowledges that it's not always a straightforward process. Our subconscious minds have been conditioned over a lifetime with all sorts of beliefs, both positive and negative.
So it's like we have all these conflicting programs running at the same time.
Exactly, and it takes conscious effort to cultivate the positive ones and weed out the limiting beliefs that might be hindering our healing potential.
So it's like we're reprogramming our internal software to support our well-being.
That's a great way to put it. And just like learning any new skill, it takes practice and consistency.
So we can't just affirm our health once and expect a miracle cure.
No, it's an ongoing process of aligning our thoughts and beliefs with our desired outcome.
It makes sense when you put it that way.
Okay.
So if we can tap into our subconscious for healing, what about other areas of life? Can we use this power to achieve, say, financial abundance?
That's another fascinating area that Dr. Murphy explores. He suggests that wealth at its core is a subconscious conviction.
A subconscious conviction.
Yeah, so it's not just about hard work and smart financial planning, though those are important too.
There's a deeper mental component at play.
Exactly. He argues that consistently impressing your subconscious mind with thoughts of abundance and prosperity can actually attract wealth into your life.
So it's like the law of attraction concept.
It is similar. He calls it having invisible means of support, which is basically tapping into the resources of the subconscious to manifest your desires.
Invisible means of support. I like that. So what are some practical ways to cultivate this abundance mindset?
Well, one of the key practices he highlights is gratitude.
Gratitude. Okay.
He shares this really compelling story about a man who was facing bankruptcy, and he started repeatedly affirming, "Thank you, Father," throughout his day.
Thank you, Father. That's it.
Yeah, and it sounds so simple, but this simple act of gratitude helped him shift his mindset from scarcity to abundance.
And it actually works.
It did. He eventually became the vice president of a company.
Wow. So just by expressing gratitude, he changed his entire financial reality.
It's a powerful example of how our thoughts and beliefs can shape our experiences.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Dr. Murphy seems to be saying that what we focus on expands.
Exactly. And he also cautions against harboring negative thoughts about wealth, like condemning successful people or constantly worrying about lack.
Yeah, because those negative beliefs could actually repel abundance.
Right. It's about cultivating a positive and abundant mindset while also taking practical steps towards your financial goals.
So it's a combination of mindset and action.
Exactly. And importantly, believing that you are worthy of receiving wealth.
Oh, that's a good point. Because if you don't believe you deserve it, your subconscious might be working against you.
It's possible, Dr. Murphy emphasizes, that the subconscious mind responds to deep-seated beliefs, not just fleeting thoughts.
This is all incredibly intriguing, but I have to ask, can we really manifest anything we want just by thinking about it?
That's a great question, and it's important to clarify that Dr. Murphy isn't advocating for passive wishing or magical thinking.
So it's not about just sitting on the couch, visualizing $1 million and expecting it to fall into your lap.
No, definitely not. He emphasizes that working with the subconscious is about aligning your thoughts and beliefs with your desires while also taking practical steps to make them a reality.
So it's like a partnership between the conscious and subconscious.
Exactly. You're using the power of your mind to set the intention, and then you're taking action in the physical world to support that intention.
It makes sense when you put it that way. And this principle applies not just to wealth, but to other areas of life too.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Problem solving is another area where Dr. Murphy believes we can leverage the power of the subconscious.
Problem solving through the subconscious. How does that work?
He believes the subconscious mind holds a vast reservoir of creativity and wisdom that we can tap into. He recommends techniques like visualization and what he calls subjective embodiment to access this inner guidance.
Subjective embodiment. Okay, you're going to have to explain that one.
It's basically about vividly imagining yourself experiencing the solution to the problem as if it's already happened. You're embodying the feeling of having overcome the challenge.
So it's like creating a mental blueprint of the desired outcome.
Exactly. And he shares a story about a pharmacist who longed to own his own store but lacked the financial means. He started vividly visualizing himself working in his dream pharmacy, interacting with customers, dispensing prescriptions.
He basically created a mental movie of his goal.
Yeah. And he made it so real in his mind that he could almost smell the medications.
Wow, that's some serious visualization. And did it work?
It did. Through consistent visualization, he eventually attracted the resources and opportunities he needed to open his own pharmacy.
That's incredible. So he didn't just magically manifest a pharmacy out of thin air. He used the power of his mind to set the intention and then took action when the opportunities presented themselves.
Exactly. It's about aligning your subconscious mind with your goals and then being open to the ways in which the universe conspires to help you achieve them.
This whole deep dive is really making me rethink the power of my own mind. Like, what if we all have this untapped potential within us and we're just not using it to its full capacity?
I think that's a very real possibility. And Dr. Murphy's work shows us that we have far more power than we realize to create the lives we desire.
It's both exciting and a little daunting at the same time.
It is, but I think it's ultimately empowering to know that we have the ability to shape our own reality.
Okay, so we've talked about healing wealth, problem solving. What other areas does Dr. Murphy cover in the book?
Well, he also delves into the role of the subconscious in shaping our relationships.
Oh, interesting. So like how we attract certain types of partners into our lives.
Exactly. He suggests that our subconscious beliefs and patterns often play a big role in the dynamics of our relationships.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Dr. Murphy also talks about the role of the subconscious in dealing with something we all face.
What's that?
Fear.
Oh, fear. Yeah, we've all got our fears.
Right. But he makes this really interesting distinction between what he calls normal fear and abnormal fear.
Okay, so like normal fear would be things like fear of heights or fear of spiders, like those primal instincts that are meant to protect us from danger. Exactly, that kind of fear is actually essential for survival.
Yeah, it keeps us from doing stupid things.
Right, but then there's abnormal fear, which is more like those learned fears that we pick up along the way.
So like the fear of public speaking or the fear of failure, those kind of things.
Exactly, those fears that hold us back from taking risks and really going after what we want in life.
And Dr. Murphy says those abnormal fears can actually be pretty detrimental.
Yeah, because he argues that dwelling on those fears can actually attract the very things we're afraid of.
Oh, wow. So it's like we're inadvertently manifesting our own worst nightmares.
It can be like that because the subconscious mind doesn't really distinguish between a fear we're obsessing over and a desire we're pursuing.
Oh, so it's just picking up on the intensity of the emotion.
Right, and it starts to manifest those thoughts and images in our reality.
That is kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we break free from those fear-based patterns?
Well, Dr. Mosi suggests a really interesting approach. He says we need to focus on the opposite of what we fear.
So if I'm afraid of failure, I should focus on success.
Exactly. Visualize yourself achieving your goals, feeling the confidence and satisfaction of overcoming the challenge.
So it's like replacing those fear-based thoughts with more empowering beliefs.
Exactly. And he emphasizes the power of affirmations in this process.
So instead of saying, I'm afraid I'm going to mess this up, I could say, I know I can do this. I am capable and confident.
Exactly. You're basically retraining your subconscious mind to believe in a different reality.
And he has examples of this working in the book, right?
Oh, yeah. One that comes to mind is the story of this young singer who was crippled by stage fright. She could barely get through a performance without trembling and forgetting the words.
Wow, that sounds awful.
It was, but she started using affirmations she would repeat to herself over and over again. I sing beautifully, I am poised, serene, confident, and calm.
And just by repeating those phrases, she was able to overcome her stage fright.
It's a really powerful example of how we can use the power of our words to reprogram our subconscious minds.
You know, one thing that really resonated with me in the book was Dr. Murphy's perspective on aging.
Oh yeah, that was a great chapter.
He seems to challenge the conventional view that aging is synonymous with decline.
I know he has a much more optimistic outlook.
He argues that while our physical bodies might age, our minds don't have to.
Right, the subconscious mind has this incredible capacity to revitalize and rejuvenate us regardless of our chronological age.
So we don't have to succumb to the idea of getting old and frail. We can choose to age with vitality and purpose.
Exactly. He actually cites examples of individuals who achieved great things in their later years, like Socrates learning to play musical instruments at 80 and Michelangelo painting masterpieces well into his 80s.
Wow. Talk about defying expectations.
I know it's inspiring to see that age doesn't have to limit our potential.
And Dr. Murphy seems to be encouraging us to embrace that agelessness within ourselves.
Absolutely. He even talks about how retirement can be seen as a new beginning, a time to pursue passions and explore interests that you might not have had time for before.
It's like a whole new chapter of life waiting to be written.
Exactly. And he emphasizes the importance of staying mentally active and engaged throughout our lives, regardless of age.
Wow, this whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's like we've uncovered this hidden superpower within us.
It really is like we have this incredible capacity to shape our reality and create the lives we desire.
It's both empowering and a little bit overwhelming to think about.
I know it's a lot to take in, but I think the key takeaway is that we have far more power than we realize to influence our health, our wealth, our relationships, our overall well-being.
It all starts with understanding and working with our subconscious mind.
Exactly, not against it.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. A huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through this fascinating deep dive into the power of your subconscious mind.
My pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have. Remember, the power to change your life lies within you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.